Hello everyone, it's Judy from Coffee, Cookies and Books, and what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about 35 books that are coming out in the month of July. They're amazing, and I know you're not going to want to miss it. So great to see you again. I know you're not going to want to miss this one. As I promised, I have 35 books to share with you that are coming out in the month of July. Now, when I was going through and I was researching, there were a hell of a lot more than 35 books. July is a huge release month. I've got 5 different dates and tons of variation in the kinds of books that are coming out. I've tried to provide a broad view so that we're not sticking to one particular category, because that would be boring for you. I'll let you know if there's anything in there in particular that I might be interested in. There's probably one or two for sure that I think I might want to get. And, sometimes I do typically like to wait and see what, Book of the Month is going to offer, or perhaps Aardvark, and see what they have to offer. And I've picked up quite a few that way. But either way, we're going to go through these. So we're going to start with July 1st. So the first book that I have for July 1st is Tenderly I Am Devoured by Lyndall Clipstone, I think it is. And it is I've got it written down, LGBTQ romance, dark fantasy, YA. So those are kind of the categories that it was listed under. Now, what I'm going to do for these books is I'm just going to read kind of like the first paragraph, just to sort of give you an idea of what the book is about. But it does have some comparisons. It says it's perfect for fans of Saltburn, A Study in Drowning, and Don't Let the Forest In. It's a moody, monstrously gothic romantic folk horror in which a young woman must bind herself to a dangerous chthonic god with the help of the son of a rival family to save her family's legacy and herself from ruin. So certainly sounds like it could be an interesting book. Now, like I said, it's coming out July 1st, and it looks like it's only available in hardcover and Kindle at this point. So that is the first one. The next one I have, it's called Party of Liars, and it is by Kelsey Cox, and it is a thriller. It is a lavish, Texas-sized Sweet 16 turns deadly in this twisty, pulse-pounding new novel, serving up a fresh take on a classic locked room whodunit. Let the festivities begin. Oh, this sounds interesting. It's a killer guest list. Danny, Sophie's new stepmother, who's been plagued by self-doubt ever since the birth of her own baby girl. Orlaith, the superstitious Irish nanny who senses a looming danger in the cavernous house. Michaela, the birthday girl's best friend, who is not nearly as meek as popular kids assume. Kim, the cunning ex-wife who has a grudge she can't let go of. Everyone is invited in. No one will get out alive. Oh, okay, so that one sounds good. Love me a thriller. Now, for the month of May, I was actually kind of disappointed in the thrillers that I read. And so far in June, I have not read any really. So I need a good one. I'm hoping I get a good one. Anyways, that one sounds really good. Okay, so then the next book is a romance, and it's Overruled by Lana Ferguson. And Lana Ferguson wrote, I think it's Under Lock and Key, which is like a paranormal romance. This one is it's a workplace enemies to lovers romance is what I wrote down about it. It says 2 divorce lawyers determined to share only beds but not hearts discover that love is something that you can't be overruled in this steamy contemporary romance by Lana Ferguson. So it sounds like it's, your typical contemporary romance. Enemies to lovers is always a fun trope, I find. Although, I'll be perfectly honest, I don't particularly like romances that are lawyers. But anyway, anybody who likes Lana Ferguson would probably want to pick that one up. And then we have a romantasy or fantasy romance, which is A Forbidden Alchemy by Stacey McEwan. Now, I have seen this one talked about by a few different people. There is actually a fancy copy, with sprayed edges and everything, that is available on pre-order. And it looks like it's quite stunning. It says, this stunning slow burn romantasy follows a fated pair who uncover a world-changing secret and are thrust into a violent class war, navigating love, loss, and devastating betrayals. So, it does kind of sound a little bit like your typical fantasy romance, but it looks like it starts off with them at a younger age, and then they end up parting ways, and then they come back together at some point. So it does not indicate if this is standalone or if it is part of a series. It actually does not say that here, so I can't tell you one way or the other what it is, but a lot of people seem to be interested in it because like I said, I have been seeing quite a few people mention it in upcoming fantasy releases. Okay, then the next one is Tusk Love by Thea Guanzon. Now, of course, she's the author that wrote the Hurricane Wars. And this looks to me like it says fantasy military romance. Now, that was what Hurricane Wars was fantasy military romance. So I felt the romance was a very small part of I've only read the first book. I haven't read Monsoon Rising yet. I'm hoping to get to it soon and get it done. Didn't love Hurricane Wars. It was very much middle of the road for me. So I don't know about this one. This is critical. It's part of Critical Role, an 8-book series. I don't know if this is a continuating series or if it's different couples in each series, because this definitely looks like a more romance. It says, a daughter of an ambitious merchant, Guinevere's path has been predetermined. Marry into noble house of the Dwendalian Empire, raise her family station, and live quietly as a lording's obedient wife. But Guinevere longs for a life unbounded by expectations, for freedom and passion and adventure. So, we shall see where that goes. But anyway, so yeah. Okay, so now we are on to what's coming on July 8th. We have a few more. So July 1st was 5 books. So July 8th is 6 books we have. So the first one is The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy, which is part 1 of the Dearly Beloathed duology, which I think is kind of cute. And it is considered, obviously, Gaslamp fantasy. It looks like it's got some romance involved in it. It says, loyalties are tested in this slow burn, enemies to lovers, romantasy following an assassin and a healer forced to work together to cure a fatal disease, all while resisting the urge to kill each other, or worse, fall in love. It sounds cute. I mean, it sounds maybe perhaps on the cozy side. I mean, the cover certainly gives off cozy vibes to me. I mean, based on the cover and the description, I'd be interested in reading it because I think it sounds pretty good. So, sounds like it could be an entertaining book to read. It is also available in a deluxe edition on pre-order, and that is through Amazon. Okay. So then the next book is The Woman in Suite 11 by Ruth Ware. It is a thriller, and it says it's a follow-up to the #1 best-selling author Ruth Ware's multi-million-dollar copy, The Woman in Cabin 10. Lo Blacklock returns to attend the opening of a luxury hotel only to find herself in a white-knuckled race across Europe. So obviously this is the same woman. I did not read The Woman in the Cabin, so I would probably want to read that first. I have a few Ruth Wares. I don't know if I've read anything from her yet. I have a couple of her books, but yeah, this one sounds interesting, but for me, I would want to read the first one first. But that one's the next one. Then after that is Rose in Chains by Julie Soto. I've seen this one mentioned quite a bit. It is a fantasy romance, and it is the wars over the dark forces have won, and the hero who is supposed to save them is dead. Captured as her castle is overrun by the enemy, the world is Branny Rosewood knows it is changed forever. Evil has won, and her people face imminent servitude, imprisonment, or death. Stripped of her magic and her freedom, Brianni and other survivors are quickly sold off to the highest bidder at an auction, and as Evermore's princess, she fetches the highest price. After a fierce bidding war, she's sold to none other than Tovenhurst, scion of the family known for their cruelty. So that sounds like an interesting fantasy romance, if that's what you're looking for. Then the next book I have is a suspense thriller, Our Last Resort by Clémence Michallon. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. Michallon? Our Last Resort by Clémence Michallon. I think that's how it's said. These names, authors' names, they get you every time, you know? Okay, so it is supposed to be a suspense thriller. Innocence doesn't bail you out. It just makes you easier to trap. Frida and Gabriel arrive seeking a fresh start at the stunning Era Hotel in the secluded desert of Escalante, Utah. Once so close, they were able to finish each other's sentence. They've grown apart in recent years after a sudden unspeakable tragedy. Now at the Luxe Resort, they are ready to reconnect. Between dips in the pool and hikes on particular desert trails, it all feels like paradise until the body of a beautiful young woman who is vacationing at the Era with her powerful, much older husband is discovered. Definitely a little bit of crime drama, that kind of thing. Always good fun, right? Yeah. Okay, the next one is Totally and Completely Fine by Elissa Sussman. This one says literary women's fiction. It says, in the small Montana hometown, Lauren Parker has assumed a few different roles. Teenage hellraiser, sister of superstar Gabe Parker, and most recently, tragically widowed single mother. She's never cared much about labels or what people thought of her, but dealing with her grief over the loss of her husband, Spencer, has slowly revealed that she's adrift in her own life. So it certainly sounds like it is a journey into her figuring out who she is and new possibilities from the sounds of it. It certainly does sound interesting, you know. And the thing is that, what is it they say that when women turn around and they tell you that they're fine, that they're not fine? And this is totally and completely fine. So I think that says a lot. And it sounds like a good book, and that I might want to read it at some point. Okay, so then the next one is How to Survive a Horror Story by Mallory Arnold. And it is ghost horror thriller. When a legendary horror author, Mortimer Queen, passes, a group of writers find themselves invited to his last will and testament reading, expecting a piece of his massive fortune. Each have their own unique connection to the literary icon, some known, some soon to be discovered, and they've been waiting for their chance to step into the author's shoes for some time. Instead, they arrive at his grand manor and are invited in to play a game. The rules are simple. Solve the riddle, progress to the next room. If you don't, the manor will take one of them for itself. Oh, this sounds good. I always like a story like that. Yeah, that one sounds so. How to Survive a Horror Story by Mallory Arnold. So that's definitely one that I would like to read. Now, I think that's it. So next, we're going to do July 15th. So for the 15th, I have a huge batch of books coming out. Not date. I think the other large release date is the 29th of July, but the 15th is one of the larger ones. So the first book that we have it's a sort of cozy paranormal, what do I have here? Cozy paranormal urban fantasy called A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandanna. I think that's how it's pronounced. And I have the first one in the series of these books. I think there's 3 altogether, and I think I have the first one. I haven't read it yet, but would like to read it. So this one is a whimsical and heartwarming novel about a witch who has a second chance to get her magical powers and her life back on track with the national best-selling author of The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. That's the one I have. I have that one. Sarah Swan used to be one of the most powerful witches in Britain. Then she resurrected her great Aunt Jasmine from the very recently dead, lost most of her magic, befriended a semi-villainous talking fox, and has exiled from her guild. Now, slightly reluctantly and just a bit grumpily, helps Jasmine run an enchanted inn in Lancashire, where she deals with her quirky guest shenanigans, tries to keep said talking fox in check, and longs for the future that seems lost to her. But then she finds out about an old spell that could hold the key to restoring her power. So, it sounds like cute. I won't get it, though, until I've read the other one, because, got to read the first one, see if I like it. If I like it, then I would continue on with this one. Okay, so that was the first one for the 15th. Then we have The Girl I Was, which I have written down. It says coming of age, and it has time travel in it. And it is by Jeneva Rose. Now, I know she also writes suspense books, but I don't think that's what this is from the looks of it. It says, from the New York Times bestselling author Jeneva Rose comes a fully updated and expanded version of The Girl I Was, the first book she ever wrote, featuring 6 brand new chapters from her. It's a refreshed book. Okay. And chapters from a fresh point of view. Alex Spencer will use any inspirational quote to rationalize her failures and shortcomings. Her closest friends are a distant memory, and her college debt is still as high as the day she left. But that's all fine and dandy, because whatever will be, will be. However, when Alexis loses her job and her relationship in the same day, there is no quote strong enough to get her through that. In typical fashion, she blames the world for her problems, including her younger self, who should have tried harder. So it definitely sounds like it's kind of like a journey type book. Not something I'd particularly be interested in, but I thought the idea that it is kind of a redone and updated version of what she already wrote. So then the next one I have is The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. And it says this is a Gothic fantasy, and this is written by the woman who wrote Mexican Gothic. I have not read that. I have wanted to read that. I don't have it, but I would like to read it at some point, because I do think it sounds interesting. So it says, back then when I was a young woman, there were still witches. That was how Nana Alba always began the stories she told her great-granddaughter Minerva, stories that have stayed with Minerva all her life. Perhaps that's why Minerva has become a graduate student focused on the history of horror literature and is researching the life of Beatrice Tremblay, an obscure author of macabre tales. In the course of assembling her thesis, Minerva uncovers information that reveals that Tremblay's most famous novel, The Vanishing, was inspired by a true story. Decades earlier, during the Great Depression, Tremblay attended the same university where Minerva is now studying and became obsessed with her beautiful and otherworldly roommate, who then disappeared under mysterious circumstances. So it definitely sounds like it has a little bit of a historical in there, and maybe some time travel in the book, which, you know, I typically don't mind if it's well done. Got to be well done, though. So that's that one. Okay, then the next one is from what it says here, it's a YA fantasy romance, and it is called A Flame and Fury by Michaela Bridge. Fourth Wing meets Iron Widow in this enemies to lovers romantic fantasy by debut author Michaela Bridge, the hottest must-read of the summer. On an island built from ash and shrouded in fire, Phoenix racing is a sport just as profitable as it is deadly. So, certainly sounds like it's going to be an interesting one. My guess is that most of the YouTubers that I follow that read fantasy will probably read this one at some point. So, I won't touch it until I hear some reviews on it, because at this point it doesn't really interest me. I don't read a lot of YA. I read some, but typically I like younger perspectives when it's more like thriller or suspense or something along those lines, or maybe a crime type novel, but not necessarily. I don't love a ton of YA fantasy. I'm kind of on the fence with that a little bit, so we'll see where that goes. So the next one is The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst, and this is a romantic comedy fantasy, so a little on the cozy side, and of course she's the author who wrote The Spell Shop, and I do have that. I have not read it yet. I just got it recently from Book Outlet. It was during one of their sales. I picked that up, so I do want to read this one, and I don't know. This says it's book 2 of 2, so continuing part of the story. It says, Turtle Perna broke the law because she was lonely. She cast a spell and created a magically sentient spider plant. As punishment, she was turned into a wooden statue and tucked away into an alcove in the northern reading room of the guest library of Elysium. This should have been the end of her story, yet one day Turtle wakes in the cold winter on a nearly deserted island full of hundreds of magical greenhouses. She's starving and freezing, and the only other human on the island is a grumpy gardener. To her surprise, he offers Turtle a place to sleep, clean clothes, and freshly baked honey cakes, at least until she's ready to sail home. So, sounds like, it doesn't sound like it's the exact same story. It sounds like it's just a complementary part of the series. So maybe it's just continuation. Cover is absolutely beautiful. I think it's stunning. But then I thought the cover on the original book was also, on the first book, was stunning as well. Okay, so then we have The Unraveling of Julia by Lisa Scotoline. I think that's how it's said. What are these names? It's a thriller. And it is from #1 international best-selling author, a gothic and suspenseful tale in which a young widow inherits a Tuscan estate from a mysterious benefactor and finds herself thrust into the crosshairs of a dangerous conspiracy, a compelling thriller with dashes of romance and excellent twists. That is from Karen Slaughter, said that. Lately, Julia Pritzker is beginning to think she's cursed. She's lost her adoptive parents, then her husband is murdered. When she realizes that her horoscope essentially foretold his death, she begins to spiral. She fears her fate is written in the stars, not held in her own hands. Then a letter arrives out of the blue informing her that she has inherited a Tuscan villa and vineyard, but her benefactor is a total stranger named Amelia Rossi. Julia has no information about her biological family, so she wonders if Rossi could be a blood relative. Bewildered, she heads to Tuscany for answers. Sounds really good. The cover's kind of, doesn't really draw my attention, but I did like the blur. And I do like the sound of that. So, interesting to see where that one goes. Okay, then we have Made for Each Other by Lynn Painter. So obviously this is a comedy romance. And I've never read any of her books. So I can't comment one way or the other on whether or not I think this would be good. But we will read the synopsis. It says it's a millionaire and a house cleaner are a match made in heaven in this sparkling new comedy, romantic comedy by Lynn Painter. As a professional cleaner, Abby Mariano, her name is like, oh my God, Mariano, never thought her apartment would have any sort of infestation, but because of a building-wide outbreak, she now needs somewhere to stay for a week. As a part-time student with 2 jobs, she doesn't have many options. Then the solution presents itself. The owner of the penthouse she cleaned is out of town for the week. She normally wouldn't consider it, but he's literally never around. She hasn't even met him. It goes great until one morning she finds 2 strangers in the kitchen. They're the parents of the penthouse owner, and they seem to think they've heard all about Abby, not as her son's maid, but as his girlfriend. Oh, yeah, okay. That just sounds like a good bit of chaos, I think. A little. But, yeah. So, well, it sounds good. So, that could be a good possibility. All right, so then we have The Lake Escape by Jamie Day. And this one is a murder suspense thriller. So it is the next riveting summer suspense by the author of The Block Party and One Big Happy Family. Will this be the best week of their lives or the last? Well, that's quite the statement, isn't it? That's how it starts off in the synopsis. Julia, David, and Erica grew up together, spending summers at their idyllic Vermont lake homes for as long as they can remember. Now adults with their own sullen teens, endless mortgages, and low-voltage sex lives, the 3 friends have amassed secrets over the years. This summer, David is eager to show off his newly renovated home, which now blocks his friend's cherished lake views and his much younger girlfriend. He's also unwillingly brings a nanny with a hidden agenda. What could possibly go wrong? Okay, that just sounds like, yeah, craziness. Yeah. All right, so that sounds like a good thriller. Another good thriller. I always like a good thriller. And then we have In the Veins of the Drowning by Kaylee Cassidy. And this is a romantic horror fantasy is what I have here that I wrote down. And it's got an atmospheric and evocative romantasy about a threatened siren who forges a bond with a brooding, self-righteous king in order to flee the king who raised her. Perfect for fans of One Dark Window and For the Wolf. So the monster is always slain. Imogene Nell is hiding from the cruel kingdom that believes sirens are monstrous, blood-hungry creatures, hiding from a king and his captain who viciously hunt her kind, hiding from her own alluring abilities. By keeping herself from the sea, Imogene's bloodlust is dulled and her black wings remain concealed beneath her skin. That sounds like an interesting one. It sounds unique, when it comes to fantasies. It's like, because, some of them do tend to all run into each other and all sound the same. And so it's always refreshing to get something that has a very different perspective. Although it still has like the girl hiding from the king, that kind of thing. So anyway, that's that one. Next on the list is the third one in the Nightshade Crown, which is the Nightshade God. So the other 2 are Foxglove King and Hemlock Queen. And I actually have both of those and I have not read them. I got them from Book Outlet. So likelihood is that if I like those, I would read this one too eventually. Probably if I can get it on Book Outlet again. Great way to get it. All right, so the Nightshade crown is in the hands of ruthless gods, and Lore will stop at nothing to defeat him in the final installment of the lush romantic fantasy series with Breakout Star Hannah Witten. Lore has failed. She couldn't save King Bastion from the rotten God-speaking voices in his mind. She couldn't save her allies from being scattered across the continent, their own lesser gods whispering to them in the dream. She couldn't save her beautiful, corrupt city from the dark power beneath the catacombs, and she couldn't save herself. Certainly sounds like it could be a good one. Let's hope, she nails the end, because that's always the thing, when you have them split into three, it's like you want them to nail that final one, right? All right, and then the last one that I have is A Resistance of Witches by Morgan Ryan, and this one is a feminist gas lamp fantasy, so it's a stubborn, plain spoken and from an unimpressive family. Lydia Polk never expected to be accepted into the Royal Academy of Witches. Now, with Hitler's army rampaging across Europe, the witches of Britain have joined the war effort, and Lydia is the key to the cause. She must use her magic to track down magical relics before Hitler and his sycophants can. When a Nazi witch infiltrates the academy with heartbreaking consequences, the coven is left shaken, exposed, and divided. The elder British witches have no interest in further loss of coven life in service of the government that has forced them into hiding for decades, no matter the consequences to the world. But with the discovery of the Grimorium Bellum, an ancient book that leaves a trail of death and destruction wherever it goes, Lydia knows her mission has never been more important. I mean, this sounds really good. I'm not huge on big historical, but that's war that happened in my time. Like, I was born in 1961. World War II happened. My father was born just at the tail end of it. So really find this super interesting, and I love the perspective, how this seems to weave in witches into World War II history. Sounds like a good one. Okay, so the next date that we're going to do, which only has three short books, is July 22nd. Okay, so as I said, just three. So the first one is by Holly Jackson. It's called Not Quite Dead Yet. And I've got written down here, it is a thriller. So it says in 7 days, Jet Mason will be dead. Jet is the daughter of one of the wealthiest families in Woodstock, Vermont. 27 years old, she's still waiting for her life to begin. I'll do it later, she always says. She has time until Halloween night, when Jet is violently attacked by an unseen intruder. She suffers a catastrophic head injury. The doctor is certain that within a week, the injury will trigger a deadly aneurysm. Jet has never thought of herself as having enemies, but now she looks at everyone in a new light. Her family, her former best friend turned sister-in-law, her ex-boyfriend. She has at most 7 days, and as her condition deteriorates, she has only her childhood friend Billy for help. But nevertheless, she's absolutely determined to finally finish something. Jet is going to solve her own murder. So I thought that sounded really interesting. Definitely something that I might be interested in picking up at some point. Okay, then the next one I have is Arcana Academy, and that is a romantic fantasy. Great cover. Yeah, beautiful cover. And it is available in a deluxe edition with like gold sprayed edges, if anybody's interested in that. And it says, a woman wields magical tarot cards, lands herself in a false engagement with the headmaster of a mysterious academy in this first installment of an enthralling fantasy romance series from the best-selling author of A Deal with the Elf King. Clara Greysword has survived the underworld of Eclipse City through thievery, luck, and a whole lot of illegal magic. After a job gone job gone wrong. Oh. Clara is sentenced to a lifetime in prison for inking tarot cards, a rare power reserved for practitioners at the elite Arcana Academy. Just when it seems her luck has run dry, the Academy's enigmatic headmaster, Prince Kalis, offers her an escape for a price. Kalis believes that Clara is the perfect tool to help him steal a tarot card from the king and use it to recreate an all-powerful card long lost to time. So this is definitely interesting. Forgot the author is Elise Kova, and based on the whole tarot card type magic thing. Sounds unique. Haven't heard anything like that previously. So that's another one. And then the last one for the 22nd is a romance. It's called Friends to Lovers by Sally Blakely. And it says, always each other's plus ones, but never each other's real dates. Two childhood best friends have one last summer wedding to fall in love in this dual narrative debut, available while supplies last. This stunning edition. Oh yeah, so it's got like it looks like it's a paperback printed, which I actually really like. I like paperbacks better than hardbacks. So when they have like, kind of the sprayed edges on the paperbacks, I think that's really cute. And not something I'm going to spend extra money for, but it is available. So next we are on to July 29th. So for the 29th, we've got 10 books releasing on the 29th. So this is going to be a little bit longer a batch, just like, what was the other one? July 15th was another big release date. The 29th is also another big release date. So this one is a thriller, suspense thriller, and from Sherry Lapina. She Didn't See It Coming. When a beloved wife and mother disappears, the luxurious condo building transforms into a potential crime scene and the investigation begins. Can the detectives find her before it's too late? That's all I'm going to say. It sounds like it's going to be good. Yeah, I don't know if has she written any other ones? No one does suburban paranoia like Sherry Lapina. And that's a comment from Ruth Ware, which I think is interesting. The other book she wrote is The Couple Next Door. So that's that one. And then the next one I have is Glorious Rivals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So this is part of the Grandest Game series. This is volume 2. 7 players arrived on Hawthorne Island, each with their own secret motivations to win the grandest game. Millions are at stake, but so our hearts and lives. The players now must race to win the game, solve myriad mysteries, and survive the twists and turns of Glorious Rivals. Stakes get higher, the games get twistier, and everything heats up in the newest installment in the TikTok sensation Inheritance Games saga. Now, I have not read this. I do have most of the books, but right now I'm reading her Natural series. I do like her writing, so I am curious to move on to this series once I get the Natural series completed. Okay, then the next one that's coming up is another fantasy. It says it's a dark fantasy YA. Immortal Consequences by, is it Ivy Marie? Ivy Marie. Okay, so welcome to Blackwood Academy, the legendary school located on the fringes of the afterlife. Once a pupil enters the academy's arched gates, there is no way out, except the decennial, a cutthroat magical competition with only one victor. This year, 6 of the academy's top students have been chosen to face the decennial's tests. 2 academic arch rivals whose strange connections blur the lines between obsession and hate, one girl driven solely by ambition, and another plagued by memories of the loves she lost, and a charming playboy who never cared for anyone until he met the Academy's newest student. But what none of them know, they aren't the only ones playing Blackwood's game. Who will win? Who will fail? Only one thing is for certain. In this game, some fates are worse than death. So it's another one of those games ones. Yeah, wait to hear what other people think of it. But so we have that. Okay, then the next book up is another thriller, You Belong Here by Megan Miranda. A decades-old secret that drove a mother from her hometown now threatens her college-bound daughter in this twisty new thriller. Beckett Bowery never thought she'd return to Wyatt Valley, a picturesque college town in the Virginia mountains steeped in tradition. Her roots there were strong. Beckett's parents taught at the college, and she never even imagined studying anywhere else until a tragedy her senior year ended with 2 local men dead and her roommate on the run, never to be seen again. For the last 2 decades, Beckett has done her best to keep her distance. Then her daughter, Delilah, secretly applies to Wyatt College and earns a full scholarship. And Beckett can only hope that her lingering fears are unfounded, but deep down she knows that Wyatt Valley has a long memory and that the past isn't the only dangerous thing in town. Yeah, so that one sounds like it could be a good one. Always like a good thriller. All right, then the next one we have up is The Wrath of Dragons, which is Fear of the Flames, number 2 by Olivia Rose Darling. It says the explosive sequel to the best-selling romantasy Fear of the Flames. 2 fated lovers must unite against warring kingdoms to defend their home and crowns from those who wish to destroy them. I'm not going to go on because it is I don't know if it's a continuation or if it is just a sequel, meaning that it's different people, maybe? Because I didn't read the original, so I can't say one way or the other. There you have that one. Okay, and then the next one is Soul of Shadow, which is looks like it's the first one in a series. I don't know if it's a duology or if it's 3 books or whatever, it doesn't say, by Emma Knowles. Fantasy YA romance. Hearts will shatter in this thrilling romantasy for fans of The Vampire Diaries and Heartless Hunter, where love, magic, gods, and monsters collide. Charlie Hudson is just trying to survive junior year, navigating the halls of school and the chaos of parties like a ghost, but her world is about to become seriously transformed, like world-shifting altered, when a classmate mysteriously disappears into the forest, leaving only a pair of shoes and strange symbols carved into a tree. I'm going to leave it there. Sounds like it could be a good one, but there we go. It is YA though, which so I always kind of leave it, like I said, let everybody else read it, see what they think, go from there. All right. Next one is A Theory of Dreaming by Ava Reid. And this is the second book in a 3-book series, Study in Drowning. And so return to the immersive, lush, and dreamlike world of the instantly best-selling Dark Academy fantasy, A Study in Drowning, as the aftermath of their first discovery pulls Effie and Preston on a final adventure and brings their haunting love story to its end in this stunning sequel and final book in the duology. But it's saying it's book 2 of 3. Interesting. Anyway, so I won't say too much more. For anybody who really wants to read that, who has read the first one. I did not read the first one, but for anybody who's interested in following up and reading the sequel, that is the 29th. Then we have one that is called Silver Cloak by Laura Stephen. It is a dark LGBTQ romantic fantasy. That was why I included it, because it is LGBTQ, because there was only like a couple of books that actually fell under that category, so I wanted to include this one. It is in this addictive new fantasy series set in a world where magic is fueled by pleasure and pain. An obsessive detective infiltrates a brutal gang of dark mages, knowing that one wrong move will get her killed. Ooh, that sounds actually really good. 2 decades ago, the Blood Moons ruthlessly murdered Saffron Kilaran's parents, destroying her idyllic childhood. Hell-bent on revenge, she lies her way into Silvercloak Academy, the training ground for her city's elite order of detectives, with a single goal: to bring the Blood Moons to justice. But when Saf's deception is exposed, rather than being cast out, she's given a rare opportunity to go undercover and tear the Blood Moons down from the inside. It says book 1 of 1, but it says book 1 on the cover, right? You can see on the cover. So I'm assuming it's going to be a series. This one actually sounds really interesting. I have to say, I think it sounds interesting. And might be one that I would think about picking up. And it does have, sprayed edge edition and everything like that. Yes, that one sounds good. Okay, the next one is Guess Again by Charlie Donnelly. Now, I have not read any books from Charlie Donnelly. Have heard that they're good. And it is a thriller. So, right up my alley, so to speak. Okay, 10 years ago, 17-year-old high school volleyball star Callie Jones vanished from her quiet Wisconsin lake community. A highly publicized search followed, but her body was never found. The case went cold, and the echoes still linger. Ethan Hall, a former renegade detective turned ER doctor, left law enforcement to escape the horrors of the kid crime division. But on the 10th anniversary of Callie's disappearance, his former partner, Pete Kramer, makes a desperate request. Pete is the veteran detective who originally investigated the case. Now he's dying, and to ease his conscience and get closure for the Jones family, he needs Ethan to return to the haunting work he left behind and solve what happened to Callie once and for all. This sounds really good, actually. Yeah, so that's going to go on my list because I definitely would like to get that one. I don't know if it ever, because I've never seen this author's books on Book of the Month or Aardvark, but I'll be definitely keeping an eye there because at this point, the only thing that looks like it's going to be available on the 29th is hardcover, and that is $41. I'm not spending $41 on hardcover, so I'll be keeping my eyes open elsewhere because that one definitely sounds really, really good. And then the next one is also a thriller. It is a YA suspense mystery, which I do like YA suspense mystery, and it is We Won't All Survive by Kate Ellis Marshall. It says, 2 years ago, Mercy Gray was hailed as a hero for saving lives during a mall shooting. She still carries souvenirs from that day, the fragment of a bullet lodged in her back, a mountain of medical debt, and guilt for ignoring her sister's warnings that the sweet boy next door was anything but. So when billionaire turned TV host Damien Dare recruits Mercy to compete on his new survivalist reality show, she can't turn down a chance at the whopping cash prize that could send her sister to college. But when she and the other contestants arrive at the off-the-grid location, something isn't right. The set is empty. The gates close without warning, trapping them inside. Yeah. So it kind of, yeah. And then there were none? Or do they have to kill off each other? Or, yeah. Who knows? Or somebody's killing them off? Yeah. That definitely sounds interesting. But, and too, because it's, a little on the younger side, YA. So, yeah, I do always like that sort of book. Okay, so that's it. Huge list of books. Some really great ones in there. There's probably, I would say, 3 or 4 for sure that I would really like to pick up. Mostly thrillers, of course, but I do love the sound of them. And there's a couple of fantasy in there that, like I said, I'll wait and see what other people think of them and kind of go from there. Fantasy are usually the ones that I do not pick up right away. I usually wait And when I do pick them up right away, sometimes I kick myself because it's like, oh, I should have waited. And I did that. Anyway, oh, yes. So that's usually how my stuff goes. All right. So my next video will be my TBR for July, because June is a pretty short month, and I want to get, we'll be playing my new TBR game, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. I would really love it if you've made it this far to the video, if you could like and subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated, especially if you could subscribe, because I'm now trying to dig in and get myself to 1,000 subscribers, and so I've got a ways to go, but you know, my goal is end of the year for 1,000 subscribers, so the more I can get, the better it'll be. And yeah, if you could help me out with that, that would be fantastic, and I will see you in the next video.